Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. God has hidden unlimited treasures in His Word. Every time we open it, we can discover a new treasure, or admire an old one. What will we find today? Let's dig in. Here's Carla Early with Treasure Hunt in the Word.
My mother-in-law's garden will be blooming soon. I already look forward to the flowers, butterflies, and birds that we can watch from her sunroom. The Bible started out with a garden, the beautiful Garden of Eden, where God had lavishly provided for His two greatest creations, Adam and Eve. Yet in that garden lurked temptation. God had only forbidden one tree. They could eat from all the others. It was just that one He said no to. But when they were tempted, they chose to say no to obedience and yes to sin. And thus the world began to die. Yet there was another garden that has played an important part in the world, the Garden of Gethsemane. We don't know much about the garden itself, but we know that in that garden lurked temptation. The temptation there was the same as the Garden of Eden. Satan was trying to get Jesus to do what his flesh told him to do instead of what God had planned. But when he was tempted, he chose to say yes to obedience to his Father's will and no to sin. And thus the world had a choice of life. Adam and Eve chose sin and death. Jesus chose obedience, and through his death and resurrection, life that would be available to the whole world. In one garden, sin had victory. In the other garden, sin was defeated once and for all. Jesus prayed, "Oh, my Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but your will be done." Yes, the work of salvation was done on the cross, but the decision was made in the garden. We're in a garden of decision every day, several times a day. We're tempted by Satan, using our own desires to draw us into sin. James 1:13-16 says, "Let no one say when he is tempted, 'I am tempted by God,' for God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone. But each one is tempted when he is drawn away by his own desires and enticed. Then when desire is conceived, it gives birth to sin. And sin, when it's full grown, brings forth death. Do not be deceived, my beloved brethren. It doesn't matter if it's a decision about something small or a decision about something big. Your decision is important. Obedience to God or disobedience. Yes, obedience might lead to something hard. Jesus' decision for obedience led him to the cross. Our obedience might lead us to pick up our cross and follow him. But we must remember that he works all things for good when we obey out of love and reverence for him. After all, look what Jesus' cross did for us. So when you make your next decision, ask yourself, which garden are you in? The Garden of Eden, where sin began, or the Garden of Gethsemane, where sin was conquered?
You can contact us at treasurehuntintheword@gmail.com. Also, if you'd like to share a treasure God has given you by doing an episode, please contact us. You can listen to other episodes on our website, which you'll find in the description below. Thanks for listening, and remember, where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.